Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is going to be another Raid Shadow Legends video. Get your popcorn, this might be a bit of a marathon, but I'm doing another updated video. I did one like this recently on Legendary Champions. I'm going to be reviewing all epic champions in the game, like literally a 10-15 second quick review, so that you can just have a quick, are they good, are they not, where are they good? Quickly before I do that, there is free gifts in the shop. Check these gifts. I've done this on a few videos. It's probably the last one I'm going to do. Just check it. They're not massive gifts, but it'd be a shame if you don't pick them up. Every account is getting them from free to play to end game. Just check out these goodie bags that are dropping and make sure you pick them up. A lot of you probably don't go into the shop because you don't want to spend, which is cool, but just be checking it on a daily basis. Every day for the last week, we've had some free gifts in there. So let's get into this then. Let's go from the top. Banner Lords, we're going to cycle through all the epics. I'm just going to give you a quick feel for what they're like. Hordin, average attack champion. He can do some work in the arena. That's about it. Not really worth your time. Lordly Legionary, one of the login rewards. Actually quite good in Fire Knights. Pretty solid in Faction Wars as well, with things like decreased speed and turn meter. Worth at least a 50 for Faction Wars. Oathbound, one of my favourite Faction War champions in this set. He's also, since his buff, he's been pretty damn solid. Decrease attack, freeze on an A1, loads of debuffs here. Block cooldown steals against 4 teams. This is a massive ability, by the way. Oathbound, definitely worth your time. Defensive champion as well with good base stats. Seneschal, another defensive base champion, great base stats. His abilities are okay. Unless you don't have many epics, I probably wouldn't level him. But he does have a leech here, which can give you some interesting stuff for clan boss. But it's only a 30% chance to land it. I wouldn't invest too much time in him. Knight Errant, one of the hardest hitters in the game. Certainly in the epic category. But very difficult to keep alive with this shoddy defense. He's got a leech. I don't particularly love him as a champ. But he can like one-shot champions in the arena. Stag Knight, awesome. Basically a legendary in an epic skin. That's why his shield glows gold. Awesome champion. Definitely worth 6-starring, maxing out. Awesome for Faction Wars. Awesome for dungeon content. Not bad for the arena as well. Great champion. Master Fearmonger, recently did a video on this guy. He's literally like an out-and-out arena champion. He does a bit of work actually in the arena. He's got some interesting capabilities to put fears out and stuff like that. Needs to go fast, needs to be probably the second person in your team to move, and he needs to be stacked with attack to do much. I'd say he's a bit like Hordin. He's okay, but he's not crazy. Rowan was buffed recently, needs another buff. Terrible champion, don't waste your time. Azure, now pretty good for Faction Wars actually. He's got ally protection and shielding here. He's got stun A1, and he gets extra hits if the stun goes off. He's just like a solid tank protector. Nothing too crazy, but not bad. Warcaster, usable in some unkillable teams. Fairly good for Faction Wars. Other than that, I don't really like him. This AoE block buffs is his kind of signature move. He's quite fast, actually, so I guess you could have him going like second in an arena team. AoE block buffs, and then, you know, it kind of takes out like a Sifi or a Duchess type move, but it's only a 75% chance to land, so it's not definite. He's okay. He's okay. Nothing more than that. Okay, let's move on to High Elves then. High Elves have got some great epics. Royal Guard, one of the hardest hitting AoE champions in the game for PvE content. So against bosses, he slams with his A2. Against waves, he slams with his A2. He's also got a 4-hitter A3. I recently did a guide on this guy. Well worth watching. He is a great champion. Faction Wars, dungeons are his best areas, and Spider and Dragon are his best dungeons. Pretty good for Ice Golem as well, actually. Tyrell, probably the best epic in the game still. He's up there, certainly like top 5. AoE drop defense, reduced turn meter on his A3, decrease attack on his A1. He's good in Clan Boss, he's good in Spider, he's good in Dragon, he's good in Faction Wars, he's pretty good in the arena. Kind of all-rounder, solid champion. He's one of my go-tos for Spider because of turn meter drop here and an AoE decreased defense. Really solid champ. Defensive as well, which means you can keep him alive. Thanassel, mid-tier epic, I'd say. He's got some like team support. He's got some increased defense and heals. It's quite a long cooldown though. Free turn. I guess it's not too bad. He's got an AoE ability here with a decreased duration of buffs, which is good. She's got very good base stats. So yeah, definitely worth some time. You can easily run him as a 50 and he's still solid. 50 is fine. Luthea, quite a hard hitter, like mid-game epic. I don't see a lot of gameplay from her. She just gets overshadowed by a lot of other champions. But if you get her early game, she is chilly. And what was I saying? Yeah, she can do some work. But mid-game, she starts to drop off. Vergis, really good protector type champ. Loads of buffs here. Ally protection, increased defense, bit of reflect damage. Shields himself as well. It's just like an out-and-out protector tank. Marksman, average to bad. Jingle Hunter, good arena lead. He's got one of the faster arena auras. And if he goes early in the arena, he can freeze the enemy if he kills someone, which is very cool. Other than that, he doesn't really play in the game. He can do the same thing as that in Faction Wars as well. And he does have a bit of decreased turn meter if he crits. So for Faction Wars, that's actually pretty cool. Battle Sage then. Battle Sage has got a fairly unique A2 in that if your team gets debuffed, she goes next, or if you make her go first, she will remove all of those debuffs, then puts increased attack on you, and it can't be removed. She puts increased attack first, then she removes debuffs. The reason why it's good in that order is because if you get frozen by Tormund because she's put increased attack on you, you get frozen and then she removes the freeze. So that's actually really cool. Other than that, though, I don't really like her kit. Revive on Death's a bit of a, okay ability. Speed in all battles is nice. She's an okay epic, I guess. Exemplar doesn't really get any play. Average to bad kits. Don't really like her. Let's move on then. Sacred Order. Tons of epics in here. Canoness. She's defensive. She's got such a slow speed. She's got good defensive stats. And she's got ally protection on a 2-turn cooldown. But it's only on one champion. So it's kind of like rubbish. Her kit's bad. Her kit is bad. She needs a rework completely. Adriel, speed aura for magic champions only. Make sure you check that out. But early game, she can be your arena speed aura. If you put her with Apothecary, Kale, and like a Gaelic or someone, then she's speeding everyone up. So early game, you actually get a lot of magic champions. So she can be good there. But after that, she falls right off and is pretty bad. I wouldn't take her past 50. Hope, she got buffed recently. Her defense is still bad. The rest of her kit's actually quite good. Block buff, say one's okay. Shield here, it's okay. It's not great, but it's not bad either. And remove all buffs, 75% chance here is actually really good for Faction Wars. So that on a 3-turn cooldown, you will get some use for her in Faction Wars. I probably wouldn't take her past 50. Frostbringer just needs a buff. Her kit seems like it should be good, but it's just not that good. Heal reduction, decreased defense, free hitter, increased speed and attack's quite nice. She's quite good for Fire Knights. That's about it, really. Good base speed, though. Good base defense and HP. You can keep her alive, but she hits so damn weak that she's barely worth bringing in. Talia, really hard hitter. Good for arena offense. Good for Faction Wars as well. She brings AoE damage with her A2. She's also bringing self counterattack and an AoE weaken, which is quite nice. Good base stats. Good champ. Juliana, just so many champions that are better than her now. Not worth it. I'd rather be building up people like Frozen Banshee, Cult Brawler. There's a ton of poisons now that are just straight out better. Aethar, kind of similar really. Not bad for an unkillable team poisoner. So he's got a 4-hitter here, which pops a poison on each. Put that down to 3 turns. That's coming back quickly on an unkillable team. Other than that, he's quite good in Dragon. But again, like weak base defense, very weak base speed, make him pretty bad for most content. Relic Keeper, early game, nuker. That's about as good as it gets. Other than that, I don't really see a use for him. He's basically, his only place is in the arena. He gets resets. Early game, he's really strong because he's the positive affinity to most of the early game opponents, and he can just kind of walk his way through the arena fights. But as soon as you get to mid-game, he drops right off, and you think, I wish I had someone with some speed. Missionary, recently buffed, not a great buff, needs another one. Does have a drop turn meter here, and decreased speed, which is good for faction war bosses, and he's an HP-based champion now, but still not that great. I guess in the scheme of things, you might build him out for faction wars because you need turn meter reduction. Romero, reasonable hitter, defense-based champion. He's only actually got one ability which hits. The rest is all buffs, I think, unless you've got Juliana on the same team. So it's not really worth building him for damage, but he does hit quite hard. The buffs are all kind of like average to weak buffs. Weak increased defense, weakish shield, one continuous heal. It's just terrible, so I wouldn't bother. Lady Atessa, don't bother, trash. Bushy, pretty much straight out trash. He's got a speed lead, which is nice for the arena. He can nuke one person in the arena, which is okay, but past mid-game, you wouldn't use him again. Phoenix, actually a really hard hitter. Also got block revives. Where's the block revive? A1. So quite nice for Ice Golem. AoE hit here as well, which is quite a strong hitter. So generally, pretty reasonable champion, but quite hard to keep alive. Mistress of Hymns, actually okay for faction wars because she's got revives. And she's got some heals and stuff. Other than that, no real place in the game. Good base stats though. Cardinal, really cool for faction wars, really cool for the arena. She revives all champions with their max possible turn meter. The word max is really important here. It means that they will always go. They will always move, which means you can, if 3 of your team go down, then they will be picked straight back up again. Very cool ability, this. Lightsworn, a bit underrated, really massive base defense and good HP. Good champion, solid champ. Got decreased attack, so can help you for clan boss. It's got increased defense and revive on death, which is not bad. Good for faction wars, bit of turn meter reduction as well. I used to run him in my Finite team, my Spider team, my Ice Golem team when I was kind of coming up through the game, and in my clan boss team. So I played him in a ton of areas. I really like him. Good champ. Okay, let's move on. Barbarians. Lots of Barbarians here. You've got Aina, who's actually really good for an unkillable team because she hits hard. She's got decreased defense and weaken on 2 different abilities. So if you've got to run in an unkillable team, that's strong. Other than that, I don't really see her played anywhere. She hits hard, but she's very difficult to keep alive. So what are you going to do with her? Jotun, since his buff is actually pretty good now, hits hard, but still only really got a place in faction wars or maybe in clan boss. If you feel like earlier game. Still pretty slow, which is not ideal. But at least he hits now. He's a beefcake that can hit rather than a noodle. Sakara, one of the Reading sisters. She is average to bad. Unless you book her out, she's not really worth using. She does have good base stats, but her damage is based on attack, and her attack is low. So I wouldn't waste time on Sakara. Aitor, average to bad champion. Got some provokes. Pretty good for controlling the enemy. Hits a okay damage. The best I've seen him perform is actually in faction wars against you, where he's an absolute beast, where there's 3 of them on the same team. But for me, I can't really get him to do any work. Alika, this is the sister who's actually pretty good. So she's got this ability here. 100%, is it 100? 95% chance to put the skills of all enemies on cooldown by a turn. This is actually a massive move. So if she goes early, she puts all of your enemies' skills on cooldown. So for faction wars, it's huge. Or for arena, it's pretty good as well. But you do need to book her out. And she loves a book. She loves to read. So difficult to book her out, but she's actually pretty good if you do book her. So Tashada, she looks on paper like she should be really good. High defense, good stats. She's got this kind of revive when she kills someone. But she doesn't really do much damage. So because of that, she's not particularly useful. I built her out for my Barbarian team before I had legendaries for Barbarians. Invested her to 60. She's not worth it. Kalia, awful epic. One of the worst in the game. Maeve, she is the block revive one. Yeah, I think she's average to bad. I wouldn't build her out. I might be wrong on that one though. I don't know much about Maeve, I'll be honest. Baroth, I did a guide on Baroth when he was released. Thought he was going to be awesome. Actually pretty lackluster. I wouldn't invest too much time on him. Yeah, I wouldn't invest too much time on him. Woad painted. Woad painted. No thanks. High Katoon, really good epic. Well worth your time. Do not feed this epic when you get her for your free one after 30 days. She's really worth your time. Speed Aura, Speed Booster, which only needs one book. Decreased turn meter here as well. You'll use her in Faction Wars right through to the end game. Valor does bring a decreased defense, which this faction needs, but they do have War Maiden, who's a rare, who does it better. She does have a good survivability as well, and she hits kind of hard, so not a bad epic. Easy to keep alive. Like, not bad, not bad. Suai Firstborn. Maybe this is the one who hits hard. I'm not sure out of Aina and Suai. They look basically the same. Their moves do basically the same thing. I'm not sure which one's which. Which one's the hard hitter? Maybe she's the hard hitter with decreased defense and weaken, and I've got them round the wrong way. She might be the one that everyone's using on Clan Boss. Comment below which way round they are. I've never built either of them out. I know one of them hits hard and one of them is pretty trash. Sky Touch, really good epic. Good epic to keep your team alive. Pretty similar to what I said about Battle Sage earlier. She can remove all debuffs and then puts block debuffs on your team. So she can remove stuff like freezes and then stop them coming again. She heals your team when she does damage. Good for Faction Wars, good for dungeon running, and good for arena as well. Okay, let's move on to the Ogryn Tribes. Grimskin needs a buff. Good base stats, that's about it. Skull Crusher, legendary status in the community. Great if you get him for Faction Wars. Great if you get him for Clan Boss early on, right through to unkillable teams. Yeah, insane champion. Good pretty much anywhere in the game. Shatterbones hits hard. Good turn meter manipulation as well. Really good for this faction, for Faction Wars. And great for the arena as well, actually. Galcut needs a buff. Terrible champion. Cage Breaker needs a bit of a buff as well. Doesn't really bring a lot to your team. I wouldn't build him out. Occult Brawler, one of the best poisoners in the game. One of the hardest damaging poisoners in the game. Good for unkillable teams. Weak defense, though, makes him hard to keep alive in other content. And everything he does is single target. So only really good for Clan Boss. Grush, the all-rounder. This guy is one of the free champions. He is great. Really, really good. I've got a guide on him. I'll ping that up above. All of his kit is cool. Really cool. Sets you up for Leech on Clan Boss, so you don't need Lifesteal, which can change your team a lot. Great for Faction Wars, one of the best champions in this faction. And great for dungeon content as well. He hits hard. He's got AoE abilities, and he's got Leech. Great champ. Maneater, need I say more? Probably the most sought after champion in the game right now because of his ability to build easy, unkillable teams. Also good for Fire Knight, Spider, Faction Wars, if you put accuracy on him. So, all in all, great champion. Tyrant Titan, probably needs a buff, really. Not that great. Got some provokes. Okay for Faction Wars, but nothing more than that. Right, let's move on to Lizardman. Not many here. Durang. Just bad. Just bad. But he's one of the few in the faction that have some form of decreased defense, so you might have to build him out. But bad defense numbers. I don't really know where you use him. He's bad. Jared, good for Faction War. Good for Clan Boss. Good carry, as in like protector for some dungeons like Spider and Dragon as well, with the ally protection and increased defense. Also quite good for Ice Golem. Good to keep your damage dealers alive in Faction Wars as well. Basilisk is kind of like a niche arena defense champion because of his passive. That's about it. I wouldn't build him out. Drake. Weak source Dracomorph. Terrible champ. Shizo, actually not bad. You can put counterattack on someone else in your team. His defensive unit, he's kind of like just a unit that does hit quite hard. But everything he does is single target provoke. One person in your team gets counterattack and shield, which is quite cool. I probably wouldn't take him past 50 though. Broadmoor, only really useful for Faction Wars because of his revives. Wouldn't use him anywhere else in the game. But for Faction Wars, he's one of the most useful champions in this faction. Okay, let's move on. Skinwalkers. Pretty bad champs here. Taurus is actually cool if you pair him with someone who blows up poison. He now does a ton of poisons, like 4 poisons to all enemies on a 4-turn cooldown. This is amazing. Like, pair him with Elenaril, Xavier, Karam, who blow up poisons, and yeah, good champion. But that's kind of his niche. Outside of that, doesn't really have a lot of use. Flesh Tearer does increase ally buffs, and also increases the buffs on enemies. So it's got some use. I don't personally love him that much. Some people say that he's better than I give him credit for. It's really slow. I wouldn't bother building him out personally. Ripper needs a buff. Terrible champ. Brain Beast needs a buff as well. Just doesn't really have a lot going for him. Can keep him alive. That's about it. Doesn't hit hard. Very early game in the arena, I guess he's okay, but still I wouldn't use him. Snorting Thug. Again, someone else who needs a buff. He was buffed recently. I don't think they've done enough. I don't think that he has got enough usability in the game. He doesn't really bring any debuffs or anything like that, so I wouldn't build him out. Yaga, one of the free champions, just overshadowed by other poisoners. Does have a decent amount of poison in his kit though, and he does more damage when they're under poison, but you know, comparing to someone like an Occult Brawler, very difficult to keep alive, and not as strong in terms of his percentage chance to land those poisons. Ursine, wouldn't bother with this guy. Ursine, Ice Crusher, wouldn't bother with this guy. Ursine Ironhide, actually quite good for this faction. He's got AoE decrease attack, which is useful. He's got turn meter decrease here, and he's got the chance to put skills on cooldown on his A1. So all of that's actually really good. This guy's actually worth a look. This guy's worth it, certainly for Faction Wars. Steel Skull, still solid. No longer the guy like your go-to poisoner. It used to be. There's better champions out there now, but he's very fast. He's got a great kit with a cleanse, with an increased defense and heal and poison. Definitely still worthwhile building out. Fane, one of the new ones. Actually, good champion. Good for Spider. Little tip, don't ascend for if you're going to use her as like a decreased defense and weaken champion for Spider, because as soon as you ascend her, decreased attack comes into her kit. But good overall champion for unkillable teams, for clan boss, for Spider. Yeah, decent champ. Basher, very underrated champion, really cool champ. Basher was the reason that I beat Skinwalkers Faction Wars. Straight up, like absolutely straight. He's got this ability here, increase the cooldown of all the target skills by 2. So if he goes fast and first, he will put everyone's skills on cooldown, and they basically can't do any of their main stuff. He's also got a weaken, block buffs. Good champ. Okay, moving on then. We have got still quite a few to do. Let's do Orcs. Ultimate Gaelic. It was actually available through Amazon Prime as a free login reward. I wish they'd do that stuff again because he is solid. If you're struggling with Spider, he brings AoE HP burn. He also brings turn meter reduction on his kits. Good champion, really good champion. Like MVP for Spider. Awesome for Faction Wars, and actually pretty good most places. Torture Helm, the man with the smile. He loves the ladies. Pretty weak champion. He does have a lot of damage, actually, if your team is dead. Weird kit. He can do some work, but I wouldn't bother with him. Zardala, awesome champion. Decreased defense. Smacks hard. Good for the arena. Good for Faction Wars. Good for dungeon carrying. Yeah, really solid. It's got a weaken A1 as well. It's got this decreased defense here. She does love to read, and you need to give her books or she's not happy. You need to get her a library. If you do, then she will be really strong. Bloodfeather, usable for Faction Wars, otherwise trash. Probably don't need her for Faction Wars, but if you're struggling with turn meter control, she's got some on her A3. Average to bad, but okay for Faction Wars. Bonekeeper needs a buff, just not any good. Shaman, okay for Faction Wars because of the revive. And You need your team alive to get 3 stars. So don't feed your Shaman, but that's probably all you're going to use it for. Level 50 is fine. Terror Beast, basically his only place to run is Fire Knights, and he's okay for Fire Knights actually. He's got this full team reflect damage for 3 turns, so when Fire Knight hits you, every one of your team reflects damage, which puts 5 hits of his shield gone straight out. That's all he's good for, and his stats are bad, so only if you're struggling with Fire Knight. Brask, good healer for this faction, for Faction Wars. Not a strong enough healer to really heal you through content in games though. Like Clan Boss, not strong enough. Dungeons, I guess he could carry with a bit of healing, but he needs to be fast. Do not book out this reduced cooldown on his A2. You basically want him A1 in, A1 in, A1 in all the time. Relentless Deer on him is good, but his healing's not really strong enough. Sandlashed, awesome epic. One of the best epics in the game. Can play anywhere in the game. Great for Clan Boss, great for dungeon running, great for the arena, great for Faction Wars. Brilliant champion, great A2 here. Decrease the duration of all enemy buffs and increase your buffs. Awesome ability, awesome passive as well. When someone takes a smack below 50% HP, she puts block damage on herself and ally protection everywhere else. This is awesome, this move. And then the A1's not bad as well, so cool champion. Seer, MVP of dungeon running. She can clear waves like that with her A3. You do need someone to put decreased defense down before her, and you need a bunch of buffs on your team to rip off. 2-Hack, awesome champion as well, actually. He's got some turn meter control going on. He's got decreased speed in his kit. He hits hard with his AoE, and he's got a stun as well. I really like 2-Hack. One of the best new additions for me. Good arena nuker, good turn meter control champion. Great for Fire Knights. Great for Fire Knights. Great for Spider, and great for Faction Wars. Okay, that's Orcs done. Let's move on to Demonspawn. Allure, Fire Knight champion through and through. Great for Faction Wars as well, to be fair. She's quite hard to keep alive. You want to just use her A1 all the time. Don't worry about the rest of her kit. Don't worry about trying to make her do damage. She doesn't hit that hard. But just get her accuracy up, her speed up, and her health up, and keep her alive. Excruciator. Okay champion, kind of an arena, single target, nuker with block revive. That's all she's really useful for, but she is okay for that. RNS, just generally needs a buff, I think. Doesn't really have a place for me in the game right now. Yeah, don't really like her. Move on. Soul Drinker, kind of like an arena fun champion, throws out a load of bombs. You need to pair him with other bomb champions. If you've got someone like a War Mother, he can be cool. Get him to die, pick him back up again, get him to die. But other than that, not that good. Nazana, pretty good carry for this team. For Faction Wars, she's quite good for dungeons as well, just keeping your team alive. Ally protection and shielding. Decrease attack on the enemy. Good base stats. General carry, quite good in a stun set as well, but not much damage. Infernal Baroness, kind of similar to Nazana, really. She's got defensive stats. She can be pretty useful in a stun set. She's got all AoE abilities and a Veil for someone on your team. She prioritizes putting this Veil out there, so kind of get a turn where she doesn't do anything. You'd wish she'd put decreased attack out first. She can hit average, not hard. Okay champ. Tanix, good for Faction Wars. That's about it. She's got a little bit of team protection here. She's got decreased speed on the enemy, which is quite useful. And she's got some healing going on. Where's the healing? I think there's some healing going on somewhere. Heals here on her A1, but it's a really weak heal. So, okay champion. Nothing too special. Only level her up if you're struggling for Faction Wars. Hellgazer, just needs a buff. Nowhere in the game is particularly great for her. She's okay for Faction Wars. Padma, strong champion. Decrease attack on her A1. 100% chance to land if you book her out, providing you build her crit up. She's got decreased accuracy AoE, which is quite good for Spider and Dragon, and Ice Golem, actually. And then she's got remove all buffs from a target and place them on this champion. So if you're struggling to get past people like Skullcrown in the arena, when she puts that unkillable up, Padma steals the unkillable and kills Skullcrown. Very good champion. Same sort of thing. when you're up against Sir Nyx or you're up against Seafies with a load of buffs. Steal all those buffs and then you nuke. Actually, a very cool champ. Sorry, one more. Umbral, awesome arena champion. Good in dungeon content as well. And MVP for this faction for Faction Wars. She's got AoE block buffs, AoE provoke and makes herself unkillable. And then some damage here. She hits hard. She's got good base stats apart from her speed. Good champion. Okay, 4 to go. Undeads. Dordrab. Good like mid-tier. Speed lead. Speed champion. Reviver. Good for Faction Wars. Falls off really towards the end game. He has less use, but probably would still end up using him in 3v3 arena until you get some of the higher end champs. Seeker. Like awesome epic. Hits damn hard. It's got speed up on, or turn meter boost, sorry, on his A2 and increased attack. Good for an arena kind of go second champion to boost your damage and to boost your turn meter. And he's also got a provoke on his A1. If you take a hit and someone loses 20% of their HP, then everyone gets increased defense, which is a very cool passive as well. Really like him. He's one of those champions that can really help clan boss teams if you get him in the right setup. Catacomb, ally attacker, so attacks with three other people on your team. This skill is great. If you don't have counter attack in your clan boss team and you're not running unkillable, ally attack is the next best thing. I pushed 5 million more damage on a nightmare run when I wasn't allowed to use counter attackers for a challenge by putting Catacomb Counselor in my team. Good champion. Dark Aethel doesn't really have a place in the game. Pretty bad. Dark Elhain hits hard. Good arena nuker. Can get through some of the frozen kind of stuff going on with Torments. Pretty good dungeon carry as well for damage. But low base defense, so quite hard to keep alive. Husk, forgotten hero. Smacks with this A2. Does a lot of damage. Enemy max HP. So the higher level you're facing, the more damage he's going to do. Also can stun off this. He's all about this move, really. AoE stun, AoE max damage hit. Really cool. His base stats, though, are not that good. Karam, pretty trash, really. Can blow up poisons. That's all he's got. Lich, average epic. He's got an increased defense. He's got a decreased turn meter. So this is quite good for Faction Wars and decreased speed. And he's got decreased accuracy. Actually, he's good for Faction Wars. All of those abilities I've just said there, all are great for Faction War bosses. But that's kind of like his place. That's his niche. But he does that well. Hexia needs a buff, really. Doesn't have... so she got buffed. She hits kind of hard. But she's single target. I don't really see a place for her in the game still, even with that buff. Defiled Sinner. Terrible champion. Corpse Collector. Trash champion. Morsian Mage. Really good epic. So he brings increased defense. He brings block debuffs and increased crit rate all on one move. 3-turn cooldown if you book it. All of those things are great. If you're trying to make your defensive champions hit harder, he's your man. If you want someone to pair with Seer to rip off a load of buffs, he's your man. If you want someone in the arena that's going to give your team a load of buffs and be able to cleanse off debuffs from you, he's your man. If you want someone to cleanse stuff from the dragon, he's your man. If you want someone to come into Spider, protect your team, he's your man. He is awesome as an epic. Really good champ. Zelatar, like average epic. AoE sleep's not bad. Shielding and heals here. It's all kind of like weak source abilities, but he's okay. Okay then, moving on to Dark Elves. Captain Tamelia, like mid-tier epic. Got some good protection skills for your team. You just need to build her fast and with a lot of health and defense, and just she'll protect your team all day long in dungeons and stuff like that. But no kind of significant benefit from her compared to other champs. Caden, awesome new epic. Really like this guy. AoE decrease attack. Revive 2 champions and put increased defense on, and a provoke. Good base stats. Useful kind of any dungeon content. Faction Wars, he's like an MVP for the faction. Really good. Spider, AoE decrease defense and weaken, and an AoE decrease attack, make him really useful anywhere in the game. His decreased defense and weaken is a place, so you don't have to worry about weak hits, which is nice. You do need to book him out, though, to make that work. He's also got speed in dungeons. So he's a good dungeon runner, good faction war champion, but his base speed sucks really bad, which makes him quite difficult to get to go first, and you need him to go first to place those debuffs before other people start to go. Luria, AoE freeze and block revive, quite good for Ice Golem, quite good in the arena, but she hits okay, but not crazy. She does have good base stats for damage, though. Crimson Helm needs a bit of a buff, I think. Like, got a block damage and provoke here, which is kind of nice to carry you through faction wars. Increased defense as well. I wouldn't use her outside of faction wars. Warden, Mr. Emo, weaken, decrease attack, weak source 1, increased defense, weak source. Needs a buff. Delver, straight out, needs a buff. Fang Cleric, only good for faction wars, and even then, not really that good, but he does have a revive. Lure, hits pretty hard, good turn meter control, so good for faction wars, good for Spider, good for Fire Knights. AoE abilities as well, she can hit quite hard. Good champion. Sylar, awesome epic. Become one of my favourite epics in the game over the last couple of months. AoE, decrease, turn meter and speed on the same ability. If you use her to go second in the arena, you can slow down your damage dealers by a ton. This is a really cool ability. AoE, decrease accuracy as well. Means that Spiderlings find it much more difficult to place their poisons. Means that Dragon finds it much more difficult to place his weakens and poisons. So this ability is actually really underrated. And then all of her kit is AoEs, which means that if you put her in stun set or daze set or I don't know, any of those type of sets which do CC, she'll do it consistently against the enemy teams. Madame Cerise, best arena champion in the game as an epic. Awesome champion. I've talked about her a ton before. AoE decreased defense and attack on the same move whilst removing all team buffs from the enemy. Great champion. Just because of this skill. This is it. The rest of her kit is average. This part is insane. Okay, on to Night Revenants. 2 factions to go. If you're still with me, well done. Crypt Witch needs a buff. Terrible champion. Pitiless One was buffed recently. Terrible champion. Necro Hunter, kind of like niche-ish clan boss champion if you've got him, but most people would not want to book him out or use him at all. Probably won't use him. This great monster, basically a legendary. Wicked skin as well. AoE stun. He's an MVP for Spider. He's pretty useful anywhere else in the game as well. Great for faction wars. Probably the only place where he's not brilliant is clan boss, and even then he's not bad. Sinacia, good damage dealer. If you build a lot of attack on her, she hits hard. But she's also got a put someone's skills on cooldown ability, and she's got a heal ability, which is actually really good. So, useful champion. Doom Priest, underrated. She can remove debuffs from you every time she gets a turn. Cycle her really quickly, get her fast, get her defensive. Don't worry about anything else. She'll put increased attack on your team, and she'll remove debuffs every time she gets a go. So great for Spider, great for Fire Knight, great for Ice Golem, great for Dragon. Pretty good for Clan Boss as well. Great for Faction Wars. She's generally like an all-rounder. Really good champ. Sepulchre, one of the best Clan Boss epics. So she brings increased defense and block debuffs on a 4-turn if you book it. She doesn't take too many books. She also brings decreased attack, and she's got a passive which blocks damage completely randomly. Awesome champion. Deathless, kind of like a weird nuker if the rest of your team are dead. I don't really like her. Don't really like her kit. Titus, big hitter. Poor man's Trunder, people say. Can do a lot of work, can do a lot of damage for an AoE hitter. Faceless, my least favourite skin in the game. Where's his face? We don't know. All he likes to do is read his couple of books here. People tell me he's pretty good for Faction Wars. I guess because he's ignoring shield and block damage, as well as defense, so he probably hits quite hard with this. I've never built one out because I refuse to. It looks Shocking. Skull Crown, another legendary in an epic skin. Awesome champion. Loads of damage. Unkillable passive. And double hit A1 when the target's got more than 50% HP. Tons of damage in her kit. And she brings a weaken. Really cool champion. Also one of the best epic speed auras in the game for Arena. Golden Reaper, speed booster. Okay, not as good as a lot of the speed boosters out there. She does bring an AoE decrease attack, which is quite nice. Not bad for this faction for Faction Wars if you want speed. In fact, I do run mine in my Faction War team. But compared to other speed boosters, I don't like her as much. I don't like her as much as High Katoon or Apothecary or any of the stronger ones than that. Whisper, damage dealer, all single target. Massive nerf when Relentless was nerfed, unfortunately. She does do a reasonable amount of damage, but she's quite difficult to get a kit going. I wouldn't build her out, personally. Okay, one faction to go, and that is Dwarves. We've got Grizzle Joel, really, really good epic. AoE, or full team, increased defense and block debuffs. This is great for Spider, it's great for Clan Boss, it's great for Dragon. Single target heal reduction as well, it's quite nice for Fire Knights. AoE decrease attack is good for any content where you're trying to just get through, things like Dragon waves or Faction War waves. He's also solid for Faction War bosses because of this move here. Block debuffs, stops you getting all the stuns or the provokes or the freezes, all that type of stuff. Really good. Rearguard Sergeant, the MVP for Faction Wars. Better than any other dwarf, maybe with the exception of Morley, to get through level 21. You need her ally protection. You need her heals. There's not many healers in the dwarves, so you need these abilities coming in. She's got decreased defense as well, and she's got an AoE decreased attack. Good base stats to keep her alive. Really good dwarf. Rockbreaker, another great Faction War champion. I brought him into my Faction War team, got rid of a couple of the legendaries, put him in, and my team did way better because of his passive, Ironhide. So 25% chance, becomes 50 if you book him out, of decreasing the damage he takes by 50%. So when that level 21 Faction War boss is slamming you in with the nukes, he just shakes half of that damage off. He's defensive anyway, so he can take a hit. He's got a lot of health, and he's got a provoke and counterattack, and he can hit quite hard. So everything about his kit is actually really cool. He's way underrated to epic. Really good champ. Birdle, Fellhammer, I don't really like him. His only place in the game is Fire Knights. If you're struggling with Fire Knights, he's okay, but he does have a really weak base defense. He does shield himself a bit. I don't really like him. Gala, good hitter, good single target damage dealer, good for Faction Wars. Outside of Faction Wars, she can do a bit of work in the arena, but she's quite difficult to keep alive. Okay champion, good for Faction Wars. And that is it, guys. Whew, another marathon. Hope you enjoyed the video. Share it with your friends. I've been Hell Hades. I'll catch you later.